Hi. I'm definitely having a bit of a vintage moment, and I posted my Parker Lady Duofold New Old Pen Day, and I've been doing actually just a lot of research, like just learning about the companies. So I'm gonna do a standalone video on each vintage fountain pen I currently have, and then maybe do all of them if I do a pen collection video at the end of the year. And thinking about maybe releasing these like kind of once a month. I'm not going to like hold myself to that because I've really enjoyed the learning, the researching. Still working out like this can be a slightly different and type of video, and I wrote the research. I compiled all the research about Conway Stewart specifically and just filmed myself kind of writing it, not talking. So whether I find some music to put over that, I have all this information. I love learning about it, and we all talk about it. We love it, right? And I've been trying to think of a way to like share what I've learned. I created a Substack. I haven't put it on social media or anything. I'm still kind of seeing if it's something I want to do. But as I sat and thought about it, I was like, but we love writing, and would it be interesting to learn as I write it with some nice music underneath? I'm not sure. So I haven't edited that yet, and I'll see how that goes. But separate to that, I do want to just take a moment to just do like a bit of a pause and really zone in on every vintage pen I have, because I just think they're incredible pens. I also, at first I was just chatting with different AIs and kind of coming up with some poems about pens. For this one, I wrote the poem myself. And I took a video of me writing that as well. It was probably the wrong ink I put in here. It was maybe a bit dry, but I might add that in at the end. I'll show it to you now, but I might add it in at the end with some music as maybe just a nice way to finish off. I'll work that out. But what I'll do is I'm going to talk you through the history of the pen first, and then I can do some like size comparisons next to it. Probably the best size comparisons are going to be with some modern pens. But yeah, we'll kind of, you're going to muddle through this kind of new type of video with me. And again, would really love to know your thoughts if you're liking it. I find this stuff so interesting. So, and then I want to more research around the Lady Duofold. So maybe if I can just do that one as like I won't do a full video showing it again because I just did that. But today we're looking at the Conway Stewart Dinkie. This model is the 550 with like a blue marble. Little clip and top. It's a lever filler pen. Screws to show my lever is a little bit loose, and you can post. This one's got the gold trim. It's a 14 karat nib. This one has a nice flex to it. It can be, that nib's gone a little bit off. It can be a tiny bit scratchy. I am nowhere near confident to look at trying to smooth that out. I might take it to the pen meetup with someone who's very experienced. He's fixing a Kaveco nib that I totally messed up for me, to kind of see what he thinks. But yeah, that's the pen in its form. And then in this Hobonichi A5, I've been writing, I've just started, so that's my, this feels vulnerable. I'm going to read out poetry. What is going on? This is the poem I wrote. So I just said, vintage fragility, milk forming its frame, British in heritage, dinky in name, brittle in dance, continued competition. To speedy fill, we give thanks for the vision. It lived half a century for the ladies of our past, but one must remember, don't soak, it won't last. Acquired from Bruce, much loved in our fold, this blue marbled treasure in my heart I will hold. And I wrote that with Diamine Jacaranda. it was just a bit, I think it was a bit dry. Like I had to re-ink it there, but you can see it railroaded a little bit, but I'm trying really hard not to rip out the page, not to do all of that. So I've kept that in there. And then this is what I've learnt about the Dinkie. So Conway Stewart, British manufacturer, but I guess I'll release the other video when I learned all about Conway Stewart and you can have a look at that. But this pen was launched in 1922 as the small, quote unquote, smallest practical fountain pen. The early models were actually made of a different material. They were made of hard rubber and they didn't have model numbers. And in the advertising, you can look at vintage adverts from the time, it would always refer to it as small but mighty. The big shift happened a year later in 1923. I'm going to mispronounce this, but the Cassian, they switched to that as a material to form the pen bodies, which is really interesting. So then I started looking into that material and just wanting to understand it. I don't know if this is too small. I'll zoom in the editing just so I don't mess it up. So casein is actually a milk byproduct, or it's a protein that's found in milk. I think animals that have like mammary glands, so a cow, for example, as a protein in milk, it has a really slow digestive process, so it kind of forms a gel in the gut. And from the 1920s, it was used a lot in the manufacturing of raw plastic. I didn't go too much further into that. It wasn't really the point of this research, but I just wanted to add in a little bit. The important thing, I guess, in terms of if you're using pens with this as a material now is you can't submerge it in water. You can't leave it in water. It'll dissolve. It's a organic product in that sense. In terms of the inspiration for the Dinkie, a couple of years prior, Conway Stewart released a fountain pen called the Speedy Fill. And this pen, not revolutionised, but was a big factor in the commencement of a whole different line of pens in terms of safety pens or screw top pens. It was incredibly popular and famous, and the Dinkie was then created as a miniature version. So really, really interesting. Once they started with the casein and everything else, so many models of this pen have been released, and once they moved to this as a material, they started numbering the models. Between 1922 and 1925, from what I can gather, up to 25 different models of the Dinkie were released, with the coloured version starting in 1924. All of my research I gathered from a whole bunch of different places. There's the Conway Stewart website, references from a book that I talk about after, and some different forums, and probably spent a few hours researching because I just find it really super interesting. The last Dinkie was produced in 1972, so it had a 50-year lifespan, and in that 50 years, over 100 different models in this material were released. And if you have a look, the colour variety is just incredible. The models weren't just released in terms of different colours. There were some that were a bit bigger. There were some that had like a gem on the top, which was like more upmarket, fancy. And then today, they're of different availability, rarity, pricing, etc. The 550 is quite, I think, of the ones available, common, if that makes sense. And you can see some of them, and I don't know the model number offhand, but we'll have like a flat finial. I tried really, really hard to see like specifically how much just your standard Dinkie went for in the 20s. It was actually really hard to find. I couldn't come up with an exact number. The closest I got to was that a standard small dinky type pen in the 20s, sold for around 1 shilling in British pound currency, which would have equated to 25 to 35 US cents at the time, or 1 shilling Australian. In the 20s, we still use the British sterling as our currency. I think that changed in 1927 maybe. There was a calculator on Google that then would tell you, like, if you took into account inflation and like what 1 shilling in 1925, let's just say, is worth today. And so it equates to around 3 to 5 US dollars or 4 to 7 Aussie dollars. Cheap, cheap pen, hey, for a gold nib, beautiful, incredible material pen. Whether it was on the Conway Stewart website or different forums, everyone talks about this book being the real key comprehensive guide, which is called 50 Years of the Dinkie, 1922 to 1972 by Andy Russell. It includes, I think I saw quoted something like over 50 to 70 different like photos of different models. So a really, really comprehensive anthology almost of the pen. So yeah, that's the bit of history. And then to just show you a size comparison, capped, put the Dinkie in the middle there. Traveller's Company next to it, so really similar capped. And then the Pilot E95S. I'm trying to just see if I have a, this isn't another vintage. I have the Anotto. It's not one of the model numbered ones though. But just, I guess, looking in the pocket pen, what we'd call pocket pen, what they'd call vest pen there. Interestingly, like, you can see some research where this pen was marketed to women a lot because of its small in size, but that does go against a lot of the history in terms of, because, women needed to, women don't need clips on pens, right? So a lot of fountain pens marketed towards women in that vintage era didn't have clips. They had the ring top, and it was like a purse pen, or the ring top, wear it as a necklace, things like that. But then it's interesting because I have seen this spoken of being marketed towards women, but then it is also have a clip, so there was a market for men as well. I saw one reference talking about it being marketed towards soldiers. I don't know if that's just because it was small and easy to carry around. I wasn't able to dig into that more. But yeah, I find it interesting. Don't know if you do. So if I take it off, I think your Traveller's Company is going to be probably your best comparison. But even in the smaller pens, and you've got a steel there and then 2 gold, such a narrow nib. It's pretty incredible. And then if we go to cap, oop, don't drop it. So you can see that long short pen type of vibe. It doesn't feel super secure, but capped, it's significantly shorter. That's what it looks like. I'll just do a close-up of the nib for you, and I won't, I'll include me writing the poem for, I guess, a writing sample guide, but that's what your nib looks like there. See if I can get any more in focus. Conway Stewart. The little lever with even the little detail. Mine doesn't have the fancy gem on top. It's just, I don't know, I just think it's such a beautiful pen, and I really, really love it. I love the different colours within. Even though it's a blue pen, you've got the brown, almost gold green, and then this deep dark red burgundy, and that one's a little bit lighter. And then there's your imprint. So I guess my first go at a different style old pen day video. I think I counted I have 7 vintage pens, so it could get me like a good way through the year if that's something you would be interested in me spending some time doing. But again, I might not be able to do it every month because I do want to kind of do that research. And then if you do stick around to kind of watch that writing sample, let me know what you think. I don't think I've got the camera angle right just yet. I really am still trying to work that out because it can potentially, I think there could be something there. But I would love to know your thoughts. Yeah, there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this kind of new type of video. And please, yeah, let me know if you want more. And I haven't said in a while, so I guess hit like and subscribe, and I'll speak to you in the comments. Bye.